and let's move into it. All right. Kingdom elect. The kingdom elect. All right, so let's go into Luke 14 today. And let's read this parable together. There's the red dot. Luke 14, 7 through 15. Let's read together. And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden. When he marked how they choose out the chief rooms, saying unto them, When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, Give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Then said he also to him that bade him, When thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen, nor thy rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind. And thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. And when one of them with him heard these things, he said unto him, Blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. Amen. All right. So half of you understood what's going on. Half of you did not understand what's going on because this is in British English, King James English, okay? So Jesus is explaining, he's actually here at the Pharisees, one of the chief Pharisees on Sabbath day having dinner, okay? So he's eating at that room amongst the Pharisees and lawyers are there, the Sadducees, etc. And he's giving this parable that when he says, when a married man, there's a marriage feast and a party going on, and he tells them, don't sit up at the front. If you sit up at the front and somebody more honorable than you comes in, you're going to look like a fool because he's going to be invited to the front and you're going to be pushed to the back. Right? Instead, sit at the back, and then when the host sees you, he'll say, oh, friend, come on up. What are you doing back here? He will bring you to the front. And when I make a dinner for a supper, when you make a feast and a banquet, he's talking to the Pharisees, when you make a feast or banquet, don't just call your friends or rich neighbors, because they will invite you back, and that's all the benefit you will get from them. That's the only recompense you will get, just them inviting you back. Okay, but when you have this kind of banquet or feast, bring those who are poor, maimed, lame, blind, etc., and then your benefits that you receive will not, because they can't pay you back with a dinner, or they can't pay you back with the benefit you receive will be in heaven. Okay, or at the resurrection of just, when I return, when the Lord returns. So the British English is, a little confusing, but I think it's very apt. One of the people who sit at the table with Jesus hears these things and says, blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. It is such an intense time, folks. Such an intense time. Okay, we're gonna do something a little different today, because the election time is coming up so fast, so rapidly, and there's so much on the line. So much is on the line. It's interesting that world politics is on the line. Whether or not the world will move towards centralized world communism under the UN and under all the stupid NAFTA and trade treaties, TPP, all these, treasonous treaties, illegal treaties, or whether or not the world will move into sovereignty, where nation states will be able to determine their futures. Okay, so whether or not the world will become into centralized archangelic power, or whether the world will go into more sovereignty, whereas that will be much more of a harvest ready for Chaniguk to come. And it is in that midst that we are experiencing now. So we have a couple of videos that I want to look at, but before I get into that, there was everybody already knows, or most of you already know, but this week, let me give you a little background. about 1 year ago, Kukjinim said to me, you know, you really have to move to 154 Pond Drive, the house he's living in. And I've always been, of course, you know, I don't like that kind of place, and you know, I actually want to go deeper into the wilderness. So I want to go deeper into the wilderness. You know, maybe a farm, maybe woodland, and you know, like a little hut there or something. And so for 1 year, this has been, going on. Maybe about a year, maybe less than that. And Kukjino always has, of course, as you all know, a very clear providential picture. And he's also obviously, his goal is to serve Father. So for what he's been saying to me for a year, he's just saying, that's Father's house. 154 is Father's house. 154 is when Father passed, was 154. And ever since I got there, it's always been the house that has been the omen that Father brought us to Pennsylvania, which turns out to be, by the way, the state that will determine the presidency, which will then determine global politics, okay? So obviously, we've seen how that connected. You've seen the New York Times even write about that. I showed you the actual article. For all the doubters out there, you saw the article in the New York Times writing about how Pennsylvania will be the key state. Okay, this state will determine the election. This state will determine global politics. The world will be affected right here from Pennsylvania. Now, you can't make that up. We could have moved to Wisconsin. We could have moved to Maine. We could have moved to Florida. We could have moved anywhere in the country. Why we moved here is beyond us. It's because God led us here. Okay, so from the very beginning, Kukjino has been saying 154. That's Father's house. That's Father's house. and also, when he first got there was a crazy man, who called Jim Bohr, who was working on the house. He was working with the real estate realtors to get the house. And a crazy man called him and said, hey, I want to visit the person who is now I want to visit 154 Pond Drive on the top of the hill. I want to visit that house. And he told Jim Bohr, the reason I want to visit that house is because God lives there. Is that true, Jim? Where are you, Lucy? Okay, he's not here today? Okay, you did. Anyways, ask Jim about it. He'll tell you the story. He said this guy said, this is a house where God lives, and I want to go visit it. And of course, you know, they said, no, you can't just walk into a private residence, etc. So anyways, it's been an ongoing thing, and every time the number 154 comes up, it could be 154 in the afternoon, and we're having a meeting. And if it says 154, then Kuk Chin Young would say to me, Father's giving you a sign. He's giving you a sign. You got to move into his house. And I've been for 1 year saying, oh, no, I don't want to move there. I don't want to move there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So anybody who's been in our meetings, you know that, you know, Richard, you know, Greg, where is it, Tim, when we have the international meetings, you guys have seen it, on and on and on and on. And you know how persistent Kuk Chin Young is. And so I've been personally kind of holding off on that, you know. I like personally being in the wilderness better. I like being personally in a smaller area better. Okay? So I've been putting this off. I've been pushing him back and saying, no, I don't want to do this, and no, I'm going to, and I even started, looking at other places, you know, with bigger farmlands, and no, this is better, and, you know, this is even more wild, and you know, like this. But this week, it became very clear, not because of anybody else, but because Father's Foundation is coming back. Amen. And not only Father's Foundation, I'm not talking in terms of members and brothers and sisters. That's happening worldwide. More and more key leaders from Japan to Korea are now stepping forward. And now stepping out of the family fraud because it's so collapsed. Okay, but that's only one part of Father Foundation. Another part of Father Foundation is this national network, and also the presidents of nations that he has influenced. So we have to remember, Father, of course, through UPF, all those different organizations which have betrayed him and become globalist organizations supporting the stupid carbon tax on people with the climate change and these idiotic communist ideals. But Father had a whole foundation of people in positions of power in nations. In other words, other types of archangels, but that were connected to Father in some way, and in at least a spiritual dimension, humbled themselves to Father. Okay. And of course, it's a mixed bunch. There's always a mixed bunch. There's always going to be, percentages, etc. But there is a percentage of people within that worldwide network that is able-sided and not archangelic-sided. That makes sense? Yes. So we don't know which nation or what nation or which leader will start a party or a movement in his nation that will begin the actual implementation of Chaniguk. You don't know which nation will do it. It could be an island nation of Vanuatu. It could be an African nation. It could be a Russian. You don't know. We don't know. That's all in God's hands. We don't know which nation will begin Chaniguk. Right? So this week, anyways, just to be, because we like to share with everybody, as these things happen. Just this week, we got information and things like that very high-level VIPs will start coming and visiting us. And so it's been about a year, and I've been saying, oh, no, I don't want to live in that house, blah, blah, blah. And, I don't want to raise my kids in that kind of house, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been pushing. But Kukjong has been very clear, and Kukjong knows that I do not only represent my own life. I do not only represent my family's life, my immediate nuclear family's life. I'm not a normal dad. I am not a normal pastor. I am not a normal, husband. I represent a kingship on this earth that has begun with the Lord at the second advent. That is totally different. And of course, when you come and see me, I'm dressed in a t-shirt and I got dirty pants on because I'm bushcrafting, and I smell like campfire probably. But that's all external stuff. If you get caught up in that, you're the idiot. I represent the king's line. And that is the king's line that comes from God and his second advent, God and the Messiah. So, Kukjong has always obviously seen that, recognized that, humbled himself to his father's wishes, did not try to kill me, did not try to murder me, like Cain and other jealous, siblings. He knows I didn't ask for this. He knows I didn't want this position. It's something that I have to do. It's a position that I must live through, because that is how I honor my father. So, yes, I got some wilderness chic style. Yeah, I'm styling wilderness chic style. And I got my bushcraft essentials and my survival pants and the gear on and stuff like that. Always. But that is just an external thing, right? Those are just external realities. And he's always been saying, you can't get away from the fact that you will live in a cage. And I jokingly say, maybe that's why I like MMA, because you have to practice in a cage, you have to fight in a cage. And we had this talk with our kids, because moving to that residence, which is materially, it's a much higher level of property. Okay, so it's a much more expensive property. It's a much more expensive real estate. It's a much more, more palatial than the Lake Sanctuary. And I'm not saying Lake Sanctuary. I tell my kids, you don't know how grateful we have to be to live like this. even Lake Sanctuary is just phenomenal. Who gets to live in front of a beautiful lake like that? You go all through Korea, you're never going to see that. Right? The national treasure temples in Korea don't have a lake in front of their house. And so, even in Japan, right? And so for us, we're so grateful that we can even live in a place like that. And of course, we're so grateful, Kukjong. That was actually to be his house when we first came to Pennsylvania, but he said, no, it's your house. And so, we have talked with our kids about this issue and the fact that we will be moving to, basically spiritually, it's almost like a small palace. It's a small palace. Spiritually, it's like a small palace. That's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it the Sogung, which means the small palace. Because it's on the hill. It's not actually a huge house, but it's on the hill. It represents a kingship and authority over land and over territory. So we had a discussion with our kids about it. And I told them, we had about a 2-hour discussion, and I can't go through all the details, but anyways, we're so grateful, obviously, the kids, how mature they are. And of course, they trust their daddy, and they trust the guidance I give them. See, what you folks have to realize is that we grew up in these kind of places from where we were young. We grew up from a young age in these kind of places, and so we understand the dynamics of these kind of places. Most of my kids also lived in, not the palace, really, it's back and forth, but, the third king who father chose, he had to live in the palace. The actual Chunjungo Palace, the monstrous, huge palace, which has become a demon nest and a nest of betrayal and usurpery. And we were having that discussion. I told him, Junie, you remember when you lived in there, everybody thought it was amazing that, wow, you live in a palace, etc. But you remember how much of a prison it was. That little boy, at that age, he doesn't understand the psychology of all those dynamics. But he can feel them emotionally and physically. So he was, for example, getting sick all the time. Because that's the only way you have to get sick in order to get away from the pressure of the pressure cooker of the palace. And there's also, I've told you millions of times, there's all sorts of backroom politics, and there's all sorts of lobbying, and there's all sorts of staff intrigue. And there's all these, in Chunjungung, for example, they have 100+ staff just on that floor. So then there's all this gossip and all this, and they have, since most of the time they have a lot of downtime, it's a lot to do with gossip. So, for example, for a little baby boy, a baby kid who's 5 years old, 6 years old, doesn't know any better, he has to live in that environment where people are gossiping about him all the time. He has no private space where he can get away from them. You either become, in order to get away from that, you can either become you can become violent and start lashing out at people. But that always works bad. I've seen that happen in my own family. Right? God gave me the blessing of being one of the younger ones. So I've seen a lot of the elders fail in terms of how they have lived in this pressure cooker. And how they had to deal in that dynamic. Some of them couldn't handle it. Some of them explode. Some of them get violent. Some of them, and just say, screw everybody. If you fools are gonna judge me, I'm gonna be as bad as I can. You know what I mean? And they'll do that. So they'll have that kind of psychology. That's one sort of option that happens. Also, another option that happens is you can become very insular. You can become very insular. You can become very weird in that way. Maybe floating off into fantasy land or getting addicted to, games or fantasy games or whatever. I've seen that too. Just to escape the physical reality of having to have absolutely no privacy. Even in a normal home, you have at least some degree of privacy. And you can also leave and take a walk and stuff like this. But on properties we live, you couldn't do that. you couldn't go out and take a walk without, being surveilled. You're being surveilled. It's like being trailed by the NSA all the time. They have to keep a tab on you all the time. And they're keeping a tab on you all the time. So you can't just ride your bike and go to the neighbor's house. And I'm not saying have pity on the true children thing. That's not all I'm saying is that's the reality of the dynamic. So psychologically, you can decide to do certain things. You can decide to go violent. You can decide to say, F you, you sucker, you judging me, gossiping me like this. I'm going to do everything you say and more, you see. That could also be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that also happens. I've seen that happen, to some of my siblings. You can also become insular and kind of hide away from that. You can also, rebel against it and try to run away. Right? I've seen that too. You can play in that politics, become a politician, and basically become try to become skilled in working your way politically to eventually a goal to stealing money or to getting assets. So I've seen that too. We've seen that with the whole Quack group, right? So there's many different ways people react, and there's no coincidence why royal households have lots of psychological illness. Because you have to fake 90% of the time. In public, you have to do all these public events where you're supposed to be a prop on the stage, and you're supposed to sit there in your prim and proper robes and your dresses or whatever, and you have to sit. Look at the British royal family, right? Or the whatever. They all all the kids are out there. Those fools are thinking about pornos or games, or they're just like they're regular kids. They're thinking about, but they have to sit up there, yes, right? And then they have to go in. Then when the cameras are off and they can go in the house is when there can be normal people, right? But they have to play this double-faced. You have to play this double-faced game. And as you're a child, because you don't understand the dynamics of that, of a public life, and how to deal with that in a mature way as an adult, in relation to your private life, you know what I'm saying? Adults who are mature can separate those things, but think about it when you're a kid and you're 5 years old. Psychologically, how can you do that? You see what I'm saying? It's very hard to separate those two realities when you're that smart, and it's being kind of pressed onto you. So there's that whole dynamic we discussed about. And a lot of, I told them, you kids will have to deal with the dynamics also of envy. Because as my kingdom comes back to me, and as my wealth comes back to me, the wealth that Father gave me, not that I created, the wealth that Father gave me, and all the blessings of that come with me, you'll also have parasites that start gathering. You'll also have, opportunists that gather. And as those people gather, obviously, Father has done a filtering out and a weeding out. He's burned out the chaff and separated the wheat from the chaff, so that it's been very clear that when his heir and successor lost everything, had nothing, who were those who stood with him worldwide? That's very clear. That's now historical. That's already documented. So who was real, who was fake, is clear. But as the kingdom returns, and as people wake up, and as people realize they have nowhere else to go because they themselves have sinned against Father and betrayed him, and they prostitute themselves out to political correctness and or power or money, and when that reality hits them that they are fully culpable and that they are 100% sinners before God, and they realize the dead-end road that the Han Mother is pursuing, which is glorification of herself, pretending she's goddess and God and only begotten daughter, etc. this is a dead-end road, which now all the top leadership in Asia especially is starting to realize. You saw the Yongpyong speech that she gave just a couple weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago. October 5th, was it? Even after that meeting, there were Japanese leaders that had never heard that theology. That's how controlled they were keeping the environment around her, because as she was spewing these heresies, they themselves were stressing out because they themselves realized it was so heretical. They didn't even want to communicate it down to their B-level leaders. So when they had 800 plus leaders there, many of those leaders heard it for the first time. They're like, whoa, what's she saying? What's she talking about? I never heard this. I thought sanctuary was bad. And after that meeting, you had the 36 couples, the 17 that were there. They gathered, and they basically had a powwow meeting saying, oh my gosh, this is getting worse and worse and worse. We're getting exposed as being prostitutes and selling out for money. Shish kebab. This is getting bad. We're going to look really bad. See how selfish and fallen these idiots are? And so they had that meeting. Their conclusion was, and I have ears everywhere, okay? I have eyes everywhere. Their conclusion was, mother is not even obeying father. So what point what will it do? It won't do any good if we tell her that she's wrong. She doesn't even listen to father. She won't listen to us. This is their conclusion. Okay? What that simply means is that let's just keep taking the money as long as we can. Because they get about $4,000 per month each, and or more than that. Okay, so they just want that. Let's just hold on to the pension in the house, as long as we can, is what it is, okay? So this is the reality of their leadership now. Now they realize how unbelievably heretical it is. They themselves are scrambling to try to cover it up, which is the reason why they don't even show her speeches now publicly. They're trying to censor her because they themselves are ashamed of the heresy that she's spewing out. Because they're being exposed, and really, I told mother, these people don't love you. They don't love you. It's your sons that love you, and that's why we're telling you not to fall. Don't crap away the kingdom. These idiots are parasites. They want to milk you. And look at these fools now. All they care about is crap. We're going to look really bad. Oh, shoot. We're going to really look bad. This is getting bad. We need contingency plans. This is getting bad. This is how these fools are reacting, right? So this is the reality. This is the reality of the situation that's going down there. And when you look at the scripture in Luke 14, Jesus is talking to these Pharisees. The Pharisees they were the religious leaders. They were the heads. They were the 36 couples. They were the 72 couples. You see what I'm saying? They were the ones that got the praise and the glory. They were the ones that got the front seats. He's talking right here. He's talking about the front seats and the back seats, right? When you have a marriage feast, what are the Pharisees doing? They're going to sit in the front. They're always invited to the front. So that's what they're doing. They're going to the front. Do you see? That's what he's talking about. And this is emblematic of what has happened. The point is this. I told my kids, especially one of the girls. I said, you girls, when you get close to luxury, your mind becomes blank. You become stupid. When you get near money and wealth and things like that, you can get really brain dead really quick. And you get sucked up into that luxury and believe you deserve that luxury. And you can become a slave of that luxury. Key and point. The Han mother. Key and point. The Han mother. And look at all the girls. They betrayed father. 100%. I'm not talking about 90%. I'm not talking about 93%. I'm not talking about 80%. I'm not talking. Every single one went for the money because they thought the Han mother would produce the money. Every single one went after the stupid slut goddess worship cult. Every single one. Because why? They thought that would make the money. Ego tripping, of course, is there. Yes, they want to be worshipped. Yes, the elite girls they're very used to wanting to be worshipped. They'll get on power trips a lot. They love commanding grown men around and saying, wow, I'm powerful. Yes, rich elite women love it. They love it. But at the same time, it's not only their issue, because it is really the issue of the culture of the mother. The Han mother. She did not do a culture where she embraced the hard things that father was doing. For example, like going to the Amazon jungle and not staying in the air-conditioned room, but going out with father, staying out all day with him, fishing and getting eaten by mosquitoes from dusk to dawn. She didn't do that. Yes, she went with father, but she would stay in the air-conditioned room, watch TV and Korean dramas. That's the reality. You see how I'm talking about double lives? Show up for just the events and then go in. And that kind of culture where there's like a secret life. There's a life that you're doing in public where you're pretending to be united with your subject partner. But then in private, right? In private, you're trying every which way to not do hard things and not do difficult things, and every which way to try to create every single excuse under the sun not to do the things that Father's making you do. Like the hard stuff. Like the baking in the sun and the fishing after these crazy piranha baku fish for all day, and you have to struggle with that. What the hell am I doing out here every day to fishing these fish? In the Amazon jungle, what am I doing out here? Right? Kook Jin-hyung had to go tuna fishing with father over the summers. I mean, like weeks at a time on a boat. Bleeding fish, all those smelly, stanky fish all day long. Cold. In the summers, I guess it's less cold, but tuna fishing, these big things, and it's the most unamusing, unentertaining thing you've ever done in your life, probably. It's very difficult. And now father want mother to go fishing with him. But again, she has the 5% responsibility whether or not to unite or not unite with that. Now, let's say, if the Han mother embraced that, my Lord, my Messiah, my Savior, which of course we now know she didn't believe in, she believed she was Messiah, which is total lunacy. But anyways, if she embraced what Father was doing, he's my subject partner, every other member is doing it, these things, so I not only have to do it, I should become an instructor at it. I should become a teacher of it. I should become higher level than other people so I can actually teach this to people. Imagine if she embraced it like that. If she was an outdoors woman like that. Think about it. Think about the difference. Now, you ladies, I understand you don't like to get your hands dirty and get the blood on it and get the slime and all that stuff and, ooh, I got to cut the heads off and, all that, cut the meat out. And I understand that. The guys don't like it either. Right? Boys don't like it either. But they got to do it at an early age. Right? And if she embraced the subject's culture, every single girl that she raised would be different. Every single one. Why? Because the girls take after the mother. And the boys take after the father. You'll see it if your parents raised you up in a certain way, and even though you know the principle, you'll raise your kids up the same way. Like if they spoiled the heck out of you, without you even knowing, you'll just do the same stuff to your kids. You got to watch out for that, right? I'm serious, right? Parents, right? You basically do the same patterns that your parents did with the unconsciously, unless you mentally make a desire and a goal and intention to separate from that and create a new pattern. You'll just copy your parents. So if they're really screwed up, you're going to copy that same behavior to your kids. So if she inherited that culture, that, maybe her favorite channel was not the Korean dramas and the stupid romance, fake fantasy land women pornos, which are Korean dramas and all these other romantic dramas. Maybe that wasn't her favorite channel. Maybe her favorite channel, because she's an instructor, let's say she's an instructor in self-reliance, outdoors living, and fishing and hunting. So maybe her channel that she's watching is she's watching the Outdoors channel more. You think about how that would be a different queen. Totally different queen. She wouldn't be preoccupied with the diamonds and the multi-million-dollar rubies and all that crap. Does that make sense? She'll be less preoccupied because she has a focus and she has a skill of mastery that she's developing, instead of passively just waiting, passively just sitting there in luxury, passively just waiting for somebody to call her out to have lunch with father. Actively, proactively saying, this is what father desires, this is what father wants to train the entire kingdom on, then I will become an instructor. I will become a master. I will become a black belt. I will become a leader. I will earn those skills. I will earn it by going through those things. If she did that, that would create a radically different culture in not only our family, but entire church, entire movement, worldwide. If she was like Lisa, where's Lisa at? Where's Lisa? If she was like Lisa, if she was out there, shooting, and she's an NRA instructor, and think about it, if the Han mother was that would be like totally different. That would be so different. I mean, in terms of living under that authority, it would be so different, okay? So this is one of the things we discuss with our kids, because it's a very important topic, very important for them to realize, that when we get into the small palace, and I said, it's just I said, why is it a palace? What makes a palace a palace? What makes a palace a palace? There's a king. If there's a king, there's a palace. If it's a palace, just a big building or a container. The container, the size of the container, I told them the size of the container may become 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times bigger. You don't even know what will happen in the future. The point is, you have to learn whatever container is there, that we are representing the kingship and Father's kingdom. And it's not enough that the boys are tough. It's not enough that the boys know how to, skin a buck and choke necks and shoot guns and be strong, but yet, but be yet humble, etc. It's not enough that the boys can do that. It's critical that the girls can do that. It's critical. Because if the girls can't do that, you're going to fall into the same dang trap that the Han mother fell into. Same trap. You're going to fall in the same trap. As the luxury comes back, as the wealth comes back, as my kingdom comes back that Father gave me, you will start falling into that. So I told my wife is here, my daughter, Emo, all the girls in my house. I told her, you girls got to watch out. We are not going to create the culture of the Han mother. We have an example. God blessed us with an example, and he shows us clearly what happens if you separate from the king's culture. It's your own damnation. Right? So it was a serious talk. It went on for about 2 hours. And obviously we're so grateful to our kids that we had a very nice discussion, question and answer, all those kind of things we do with our kids, and discussing that issue. Now the reason why I bring this up is because it's also going to be the same for you folks as well. That's the reality. Look at the 36 couples. The 36 couples started off good. They started off with faith. They started off risking their life for Father. They started off being persecuted by the Christians. They started off good. But when the trappings of luxury and wealth come, you can get sucked into it. And this is important to know beforehand. It's like when you do fight training with us. If I tell you you're going to get hit, you can brace for the hit. Whereas if I don't tell you and you don't know you're going to get hit and you get hit is when you get knocked out. Right? Same kind of reality. When that kingdom comes back, every single one of you also will be tested. Again. All the praise, all the accolades. Because look, the people have clearly been separated and shown who is fake, who is real. And when those people come as sinners after repentance, and they look upon you and say, wow, how did you do that in the moment of the moment of the battle? How did you have that clarity? They will want to worship you. They will want to exalt you, just like the 36 couples. So it's not only a problem I'm going to have, it's not only a problem that my children will have, it's not only a problem my wife will have, it's a problem all of you will have too, as the kingdom starts coming back. And believe you me, it is starting to come back. The reign of the heresy of the Han Mother is over. It's already over. It's dead. It's totally dead. So everybody knows, no matter how much they deny, everybody knows there's already a kingship that's established. They can't take that away from Father. Father has already established it. It's already moving forward, and it's already affecting the world. It's already affecting politics. We're now connected with the Trump campaign. There's a micro and macrocosm that exists and is alive. The point is that test. See? Even the devil does not want this word to get out. Because it's an important word. This is what you have to remember. Right? This is, of course, why I'm so grateful that the Queen is adopting the traditions of Father. She doesn't like to fight. She doesn't like to choke necks. She doesn't like to break bones. She doesn't like to get dirty and fish and hunt and do this. She hates it. Now she's actually starting to like it. But she hates it in the beginning. Like, hate it. Now, there's some girls that kind of like it, like Chrissy. From the very beginning, she just loves it. Right? But she is not like that. And of course, one of the main things is that central providential figures have massive, massive responsibility. It's one thing this whole community and the sanctuary worldwide remembers to check themselves. It's another thing if the Queen repeats the stupidity of the Han Mother when I die. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, we know. I am pretty confident that there's a 99.9999% chance that that will not happen. Okay, but there's always a 0.0000001%. Right? That's real, right? And in the same way, I'm not thinking about now. Right now, it's pretty cozy. But you think about when all that kingdom comes back. And let's say decades down the line, your families have been blessed by that kingdom that has come back. And you now have a lot of things because of that. Maybe you become, let me just put it in layman's terms, you become richer, you become more financially rich and powerful. Maybe you have people that actually just donate to you because you did what you did. And now in that situation, when I die, and the third king has to take my place and represent true father as a subject. And in the odd chance of the 0.00000000001%, where the queen starts spewing out the heresy that she's the only begotten daughter, okay? Will you give up all that you have, everything? And now you're going to be older. You're going to have, etc. Your kids are going to be tagging at you. Hey, mom, don't give it up. Don't give it up. We're going to lose everything. And under all that pressure, will you say, screw you? Shut up, kids. Amen. And will you say, you are a fallen woman to her if she does that? We've seen the precedents of the 36 couples. We've seen it. This is something we have to keep in mind, especially the early sanctuary people, the warriors that stood up. Look, there were warriors at their epoch and era too. All I'm saying is that the devil can intrude when you start bringing luxury in. You got to be aware of it. You really got to be aware of it. You cannot serve God and mammon. It's the quote Jesus gives right before this whole parable. You have to, when money starts coming in, and when money starts making your lives easier and your kids' lives easier and more luxurious, which it will, because the kingdom will come back. When it does happen like that, there will be a temptation. Your kids will become suddenly very greedy, selfish, narcissistic, want really the money. They'll want to tool you for your money. They'll start playing games with you to try to be the kid, to politic around and try to get some money from you. Your kids will start behaving different if you don't warn them in advance. If you don't warn them in advance, without them knowing, they're going to start getting possessed by that power. I guarantee you. This has happened at the palace. It has happened with the Hun mother. If she stood strong, the whole world obviously would be different. If she didn't betray father, Kuk Jin would be running for Korean president by now. The whole Korean elite and the Japanese elite were supporting him. He was sitting in this KCIA's director's seat. He had the Speaker of the House coming over to visit him. He had the former Joint Chiefs of Staff that retired during the administration that Kuk Jung was there. He was working for the government. He retired. And then he worked for Kuk Jung. He worked under Kuk Jung Kuk Jung was his boss. He was the former Joint Chiefs of Staff of the nation of Korea. And then he came to work for Kuk Jung. That's how much he respected him. I don't think people understand the level of power and influence we had. It was unprecedented in the history of the Unified Church. The entire elite structure of Korea were supporting Kuk Jin. They saw his business skill. They were supporting me. Obviously, that's been lost. That foundation is lost. The point is, we all have to be centered as this progresses. You don't know how fast Providence will progress. You don't know how fast how things can change. You know what I mean? We don't know. We just don't know how things can change. But when things become different, when the kingdoms start coming back, all of us, my kids especially, my wife especially, the girls in my family especially, but also all of you too, must be careful of the trap of mammon. Must. Because that will come. That will come. Folks, it is such an intense time. What the microcosm does is what the macrocosm has repercussions on the macrocosm. Now I have a whole bunch of videos that I want to show, but I'm just going to breeze through them quickly. Because we are living in an age which is so radical. U.S. politics has never been this unstable. The world has never been in this much financial collapse, on the verge of World War III. We have not seen this in the last, how many years? 60, 70 years. It's very perilous times right now. Okay? And we're living in the midst of this election series, which will determine a huge, it will have a magnificent impact on the trajectory of the global politics, of global governance, of where the world will go. So this upcoming election is so unbelievably critical. Okay, so unbelievably critical. And there's some things that have blown up in the last week that all of you have heard of, obviously, but you probably have not seen. If we can't get through all the videos today, I'm just going to ask you to go at home and watch them, okay? But this is directly tied. I don't think there is not a coincidence that I, as the second king, representing Father's kingship, moving into a smaller palace or into a different house, is the same time where there's also a fight on the macrocosmic level to who will get into Pennsylvania Avenue House as well. There's a battle. Who will be the subject position in the House? Right? Will it be the monstrous, communist, criminal, evil, misogynist country receiving banker money receiving, witch of the West? Or will it be Trump, who's not perfect? He's not perfect. Definitely not perfect, but he's representing sovereignty. He's representing you bankers, you elites, get the hell out of our way. Let us make prosperity here in America. Stop screwing things up. Stop stealing taxpayer money. Get out of the way. He's representing this sovereignty, the spirit of freedom that is rising in the world. Right? The same heroes are Nigel Farage in the UK and Lord Monckton in the UK who fought and won Brexit. That's the same people. There's the heroes, modern day heroes. Right? Trump is a modern day, he's not perfect. No, the heroes are not perfect, folks. Joseph was not perfect. Cyrus of Persia, King Cyrus that God used to free the Jewish people, he had a harem. He's not perfect. But God used him to free the Jewish people, to stop the persecution of the Jews and the killing of the massacre of the Jews. God can use Cyrus of Persia. Trump is a saint compared to Cyrus of Persia. Did you know in the Bible, the Jews called Cyrus of Persia the Messiah? That's a term they use for the Cyrus of Persia because he freed them. The guy had 5,000 girls, wives, pedophile. He's, raping girls. But God uses him. Right? He's not only talking about it like Trump, the guy is actually doing it. He's got a freaking harem. But God uses him to free the people, to stop the persecution, to let the Jewish people be free, to let them worship God in freedom. Okay? And this is the battle, this is the fight that's going on. I want to watch this video because this is the context that we're living in now. Providence moves. But we also have to be aware that while we're moving in the stream of the current of reality, that also we understand and can see and contextualize what is happening providentially as well. Okay, so let's see this first video here. Real quick, let's see this video. That young man, James O'Keefe, he's a hero. He's a modern day hero. This guy is a real citizen journalist. We had dinner with him. What was it? When he was here? He was here for an event with Vince. Me and Cook Chung with the Golden Vote Media. And he was the main speaker. And we had dinner with him. We were sitting right next to him and we were talking with him. This is the guy that dressed up as Osama bin Laden and crossed the border to expose. Remember this? That the border, maybe ISIS can sneak through if I can dress up as Osama bin Laden and walk through. And he totally exposed those idiots for the reality that they are. They're total fraud. They're lying to the public. So this young man he's like under, what is he, he's in his 30s, early 30s, maybe late 20s. He's been doing this since he was in college. The guy is incredible. He's a real hero. He's affecting world politics, small little guy. Somebody like Julian Assange, who is doing the WikiLeaks, he is a hero in the modern day. He's fighting against these evil people. He is cooped up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and I heard just this morning they have now armored cars around him because he's released so much damning, crippling evidence that they may even raid and kill the guy. So these kind of living heroes are alive. They're moving with providence, they're moving, and all of them, of course, are fighting to support Trump, get Hillary out of the picture because of her unbelievable criminality. The reality of the situation is that America's position in the world has completely crumbled. You now have, for the first time, let me show you the second video. I have to show you this because people don't believe me when it's happened, that actually it's real. This is the video of the Philippines. The first time since World War II, okay? The first time since World War II, the Philippines has announced they will separate from the United States and they will prostitute themselves to China. They are now separating the relationship with the United States, which now makes the entire Pacific Rim totally vulnerable to the encroachment of China. China, as you know, has said, these islands are ours. The Philippines has said, no, they're ours. And U.S. didn't do anything about it. So China knows that and just has taken the islands. And now Philippines have realized, oh, U.S. is not going to help us. We're going to jump with China. Okay, this happened last week, folks. And how many heard of this? Last week. How many saw the video? Let's see this video. Play this video. This is the president of Philippines.
America has lost me. And will I realign myself in your ideological flow, and maybe I will also go to Russia to talk to Putin and tell him that there are three of us against the world: China, Philippines, and Russia. It's the only way. In this venue, Your Honors, in this venue, I announce my separation from the United States.
Okay. There it is, right out of the horse's mouth. So that's not happened since World War II, and if you don't think we're living in the most intense situation we've ever lived in, you're a fool. This is world politics is flipping. The United States is becoming so crippled because of the corporate takeover, because of the bankers buying the politicians. All that is crippling and destroying this country. And its state in the world, folks, in the world. You can see how discredited the United States is. We've set the Middle East on fire. We've murdered thousands of people. Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration especially. Bush is not perfect. He killed them too. Father called him king of Satan's world. He told him to not go to war in Iraq. Those Bushes are criminals. They said they're voting for Hillary. Can you believe these traitors? They're Republicans, and they say, they're, quote, Republicans, right? And they say they're going to vote for Hillary Rodham criminal Clinton. Are you kidding me? They are total treasonous traitors. This is happening before our eyes, folks. History is unfolding before your eyes. Don't be asleep. Don't be a side sleeper. What is it? Side watcher. A spectator. You have to get in the fight, in the game. This is happening. Philippines is now separating from the U.S. Guess what, folks? That influences everything in Asia. Everything. What does that mean? The U.S.'s credibility in Asia is now dead. China, Korea, Japan, all the major countries in Asia are now under serious threat. Because now the U.S. is crippled. Europe, we have some Europeans here, France, right? Your Europe is collapsing. You know it. It's totally crumbling. You are under invasion. And you know the EU is bringing the refugees in from Syria, a country that you're attacking with NATO, bringing in the refugees. This is a serious time, folks. The Hun mother, you all saw it. She said there will be peace because of her reign. All you see is curse worldwide. And we're the only ones who told her the truth. We warned her of this arrogance and narcissism will lead to curses and damnation. Not only for her, but for the whole world, because she's at the cosmic level. This is serious business, folks. Do you understand? The Secretary of State is formally accusing Russia of espionage. Do you understand? They're formally accusing them of doing that. Do you understand that? I'm not crapping around here. Do you understand? This is not a joke. They are accusing a nation with how many warheads, nuclear warheads? 30,000 plus nuclear warheads of espionage. Are you freaking kidding me? You want to get in a fight with that kind of thing? It's much better to have peace with them. To not go to this ego-centered war with a 30,000 nuclear head power. Yeah, but you got to be an idiot to think like this. These people are not idiots. They know what they're doing. They're being paid to start the war. Why? Because their system is crumbling. Because their mainstream media and all the propaganda is loosening the hold on the people. They're starting to wake up. They're starting to say, hey, these people are screwing us. It's not the people they're talking about. These two parties are not two parties. They're the same damn party. They're owned by the same stupid bankers. They're the problem. Get rid of them. And what do they do classically? When the people start rising up? Start a war. Get them busy. Get them preoccupied with the war. Start killing them and blame it on Russia or blame it on some other stupid external power so you can get the heck out of there and get out of trouble. You understand? This is classic 101 tyranny, classic 101 strategy of despots. These idiots are doing it in front of our eyes, and most people cannot even see it. Is how shameful this reality is. I don't want to go to war with nuclear war with Russia. I don't know about you. You may be insane. I do not want to go to war with nuclear Russia. You know why? These fools start the dang war, and then their kids don't go. My kids got to go and die. Not their stupid kids. They're the damn fools that started the war. Send your kids to go if you start the dang war. Don't send my kids. Don't send normal people's kids. You started the stupid war. You send your own kids to die. Does that make sense? It's ridiculous. These people are out of this universe. They're literally out of a science fiction novel. They're wicked opportunists, wicked evil people. We do not want war with Russia, folks. That we do not want. The entire apparatus that is now unfolding before people's eyes, even though they're trying to cover it up, you understand that the mainstream media has not covered any of Project Veritas' undercover investigation for last year. I'm going to show this video. There's lots of cursing in it. You know what? If you're going to, I know there's going to be, there's some young people here. They've heard the curses before in their life, okay? They've heard them. They've heard them just like they've also seen porn, okay? They've seen it. They've heard it. If you think they haven't heard the F word or something, you better wake up, right? So I'm going to show it, and this is how they actually played it. They released it unedited in this fashion in terms of not bleeping out the curse words, because it shows you the reality about how the communists operate, how they put on a face of, we're so liberal and we're so nice, and we would never harm, so we're so cool, and we talk in this nice, very unthreatening way, and we but then it shows you the backside. As soon as the cameras are off, what they do. It shows you exactly how they operate, what they brag about, how arrogant they are. They're breaking voter registration, they're breaking federal laws. But they don't care. It shows you how criminal they are. It shows you how, how a hive of bees, of lies they create. And so I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it in its unedited version. It's streaming on the internet. Okay. If you don't want to have your kids hear the F word, which they've heard 1 billion times, I'm warning you in advance. I'm showing the videos that they released. Because even though you heard about it, we have to see it. We have to see it. We only got 15 days to the election, folks. 15 days to change history. That's it. 15 days. Okay, so let's look at Project Veritas. They released this video first, second one, the third one. Every single day, they're releasing more of the investigation to the public. Why? Because they're trying to kill them. When he released number one video, he said, I will be releasing videos, my team will be releasing videos every day up to the election. Whoa. He said it. Why do you have to say that why do you have to say that on the first video? Because if they whack you, you know who did it. The people who are trying to, in power, who are trying to shut you up. So he said in the beginning, we're going to be releasing every day up to the election more and more of our 1-year investigative report. There's cussing in here. So don't be shocked when there's no beep, 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 beep. There's cussing. Okay? This is how we're gonna play it as it is, as it's been released. Go ahead, let's see it. All right, so that's the first video they released. These people are risking their lives, their careers. They've already been on shutdown. The FBI is already after them. They've given the key codes to like key journalist stations like who are on the Liberty side, for example, InfoWars and Breitbart and all these people that the mainstream media calls kooks and conspiracy theories. Did you see those people? Those are people, some of the head leaders of the Democratic Communist Party, head leaders that are saying they pay for people to incite violent riots at Trump campaigns. That is interfering with the election process. Do you understand? That is physically interfering with the election process. But, of course, they want to blame who? Russia. It's Russia's fault. We're doing the crime, but it's Russia's doing the crime. Do you see this? They're actually committing crime by interfering, by paying people to commit physical violent acts at rallies to get that reaction. Then they're blaming Vladimir Putin for interfering with the election process while they're paying people to do violent protest. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Should I repeat it one more time? They are paying for people to do violent protests, right? At the same time, they're blaming Russia for interfering with the election process. See how this is a diversion tactic? And these people are caught on film. This is on film, undercover. The guy had it right here in his little camera, the tiny little thing. The guy didn't even see it, but he was interviewing these fools. And these people are caught on camera committing crime, federal crimes. And they're not only people like low down the ladder. These people, Bob Kramer, like that old white guy, you said old white guy, yeah, we do all that. You said the crusty old fool, that criminal, he met Obama 47 plus times in the White House. He said directly in that, he's caught on film, saying, we report to Hillary Clinton's campaign every day. And then they say, no, there's no voter fraud. What did Obama come to say? What does voter fraud even mean? What the heck does that even mean? To assume that the American elections can be fraudulently manipulated is ludicrous. That kind of conspiracy theory is ridiculous. Donald Trump should stop whining. This is what the fool says. And they're caught on film. On film, folks. On film. Secret camera film. Inciting violent riots. They are the ones who are tampering with the election process. Not Vladimir Putin in Russia. We're not saying Russia's perfect. They got problems too. They're economically collapsing too. But it's not them, it's the Democratic Communist Party. And I'm not saying Republicans are perfect. Half of the Republicans are in it too. Like Paul Ryan is not saying he's not supporting Donald Trump. What the heck are you talking about? He's the Republican candidate. How can you be the Speaker of the House and say you're not supporting him? You're nuts. These people are crazy. The Bushes come out and say they're voting for Clinton. Are you insane? You pretend to be Republicans. They are in the open. They're showing that the two-party duopoly, which is a one-party system paid by the same stupid bankers, they're all puppets. They're not real. They are not real. Trump should get in and imprison them all. Put them all in prison. They're treasonous politicians. They're wicked people that sell off our freedom for money. And they should be put in prison. He needs to get in the White House so he can put these fools in prison and prosecute them with all the illegal laws that they've already put in place. This is the reality of what we're dealing with, folks. This ain't a joke. This is not a joke. The balance of life on earth is in this fight. You saw that big Russian guy with the hat. Did you see his hat? Did you see that hat that Russian guy was wearing? That guy, he's like the person, he's like one of the biggest parties in Russia. He's saying, look, if you vote for Trump, you're going to have peace. If you vote for Clinton, she's going to start a freaking war with Russia. She's blaming them publicly, accusing them with no evidence. When her campaign is now caught on camera committing federal crimes. This is not a joke. You can't make this up in a science fiction. This is ridiculous. So the first video they released was on how the DNC is paying people to incite violent riots, to tamper with the election process. That's called voter fraud. Tamper with the election process. That's what they're doing. They're illegally committing voter fraud, even though Obama and all these total criminals say, there's no voter fraud. That's ridiculous. What a conspiracy theory. To say that the U.S. elections can be tampered with. These criminals, they're caught on film. Their top operatives are caught on film. So the first video is where they're caught paying for people committing violent acts. The second video that they released the next day is about how they actually commit voter fraud. They bust people in. They move people from state to state. They exploit people. And do you see it in the end, folks? If you are a brainwashed liberal idiot who thinks you're cool because you're in the in-group and all the stupid media calls you smart and, oh, you're intelligent if you listen to what we say. You're intelligent if you listen to what the New York Times says. You're intelligent if you listen to what Harvard. If you are in that cult, wake up. Your people, they're being exposed for complete voter fraud, complete federal criminality. They're being caught on camera. Is there anything you will not say? And they said, no ethics. Ethics don't matter. Laws don't matter. All we have to do is not get caught. These people are 100% communists. They're 100% enemies of your family and of this nation and of freedom worldwide. They are treasonous vipers, and they are plotting for America to be sold out. Those fools need to be locked up in prison. They need to be prosecuted at the highest degree for them to be punished. They are committing treason against the world. They're selling off the world into World War III. Who wants World War III here? Come on, who wants it? Who wants it? Does anybody want World War III with Russia? Do you really want to get into a nuke war with Russia? Do you really want that? I certainly do not want that. That is insanity. These people are running this country. Donald Trump, they're all against him. They all hate him. Even the stupid Republicans hate him too. It's because of the people. The people see this guy's an outsider. He's not perfect. He's got stupid issues, but he's an outsider. He is fighting for sovereignty. His businesses are collapsing. Yes, he's not getting any benefit from this. He's standing up with these people like James O'Keefe, with these people like Julian Assange, with these people like Nigel Farage, with these people like, Lord Monkton, with these people like Alex Jones and Breitbart and Milo Yiannopoulos, even though he's gay. Drudge. These people are fighting for freedom, folks. They're fighting for sovereignty, and that makes them fighting for the able side. It's a massive fight, massive fight. You've seen the first video. How many have actually seen that full first video? See that? Just a couple. This is my point. My point is, you may have heard about it, but you didn't actually see it. Does that make sense? When you see it, you can see these fools they're totally organized. And that idiot, that old crusty white guy in the suit, Bob Crane, that guy is at the top level. He is meeting with the president, and he's organizing violent riots. Do you understand how unbelievable? And then they're blaming Russia for voter fraud. They're blaming Russia for interfering with the vote. This is insane, folks. This is insane. These people are 100% criminals. This is such an intense battle, folks. This is like a massive battle. It's a massive spiritual battle. We're fighting for the fate of humanity and the future of humanity. Do we want to get into a freaking nuclear war with Russia? Kill millions and millions of people? Do we want to get into more economic collapse and the same program of debt slavery for the new generations to come? Or do we want to leave that ridiculous white banker system and get back to sovereignty? Get back to people coming back and understanding inalienable rights, natural rights, God-given rights that nobody can take away. That's what Chaniguk stands for. You understand the fight? In this kind of fight, you don't know which nation God will choose to begin Chaniguk. You don't know. You don't know the VIPs that he's lining up now, the people that are in positions of power that he's lining up now that will meet us, that I will have to host, that we will have to educate, that we will have to show the Constitution to, without shame. Show the Constitution to. Show them the fruit of the Lord of the second advent. Show them the fruit of the Messiah who has returned. The kingdom can come. So you saw video number 1. The other video is another 16 minutes plus. So go home and watch it. Okay, folks. It's not enough to hear about it. You got to watch it. You got to see it with your own eyes. Because otherwise you live in a bubble, in an echo chamber. You're living in a false reality. You got to see what's actually happening. These people are total criminals. If you didn't see it for yourself, you would still be biased. You saw it for yourself. The guy's a freaking undercover camera. He's caught them on film. They are criminals. They are 100% criminals. And 2/3 of the Republican Party also has to be locked up too. These people are total frauds. And they are selling this country out to world communism and the UN. Give me a break. Father called the UN Satan's UN, Cain-type UN. The able-type UN doesn't fight for worldwide communism. The able-type UN fights for worldwide sovereignty and the kingdom of God to come. It's totally opposite. Totally opposite. Two different worldviews. One coming from the pit of the archangel. One coming from the true subject and the true king, the King of Kings. That is the fight we're fighting, folks. It's not only, it's micro and macro. We're on this fight from every level. Every level. So, whatever you can do. Our kids are going to be volunteering for the comprehension. They're making calls. They're not started yet, but they're going to be doing it for the next couple of days. We only have 15 days left. There's organizations that are printing out voter cards and things like that to show people, to hand out. Whatever we can do, folks, we got to do. This is a battle and it is a fight. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. What happens in 15 days will determine, and we talked about it, what will happen. If the people foolishly choose the side of worldwide communism, which is represented by Clinton, who's a puppet. She's a puppet of Saudi Arabia. She's a puppet of the European Rothschild bankers, Goldman Sachs, all of them. Soros, oh my goodness, you see that wicked, that guy actually thinks he's the Messiah. Do you know Soros? He actually thinks he's the Messiah. He's a total kook. He's a total nut. He's a total communist. She's a puppet of all of them. If America chooses that person who's a puppet of those devils, the entire world receives judgment, folks. We're going to World War III. The judgment will come to the world level. If, on the other hand, even with the voter fraud and even with all the fraudulent votes that they're trying to tabulate now, and all the busing of the people that they do, and they explain how they do it. Watch video number 2. They don't do it in a bus now. They do it with different people. They mobilize and pay people off, and people drive their own POVs or personal operated vehicles, personal cars to the thing, but everybody's doing voter fraud. One time you vote in Iowa, you move to the next state, you vote there, you move here, you vote here. It's organized. And it's on film. Watch number 2. You'll see it. These fools are criminals. They're organized criminals. If, even amidst all that, even all the vulnerable, there's a huge landslide like Brexit. On the day of Brexit, when London got freed from the communist EU, the polls said Brexit was 10 points behind, and the Remain camp was 10 points ahead. That means Brexit's going to fail. The media was saying that on the day of Brexit, folks. You see how lying, manipulating propagandists these media are? 5,000 media, and none of them wanted to interview James O'Keefe, who was a real investigative journalist, who was really undercover, who was really investigating these people. Not one of those media journalists, quote, these are people not journalists. They are propagandists. They're paid propagandists who just look good. That's it. That's all they got. They just look good. They're beautiful ladies and good-looking men. That's all they are. Who are paid to tell the population one message. They're not journalists. This guy's a journalist. His team is a journalist. Those men and women on that team, they are real. We are fighting this battle. If America landslides it, huge, and Trump makes the victory, even with the voter fraud, they can't deny it, he wins. Then the judgment doesn't fall on the world. Hopefully, it falls on the archangel, which is what? The establishment politicians. They go to prison. They don't get to start World War III. They don't get to run away from the problems they created. They don't get to escape. And they are held accountable for the crimes that they have committed against humanity. That is the fight, folks. It matters who is in the subject position. It matters. Big time. Okay, so whatever we can do, folks, we're praying for America to save this crazy train that is going down. Flaming fire, fiery plane that is going down crashing, which is the world. We're praying for America, who has the last string in the parachute left. And I'm not saying it's going to be great. Even with Trump, they're going to try to start civil wars. That's obvious. Soros, and he's going to try to use all the BLM and these people to try to create civil war. That's going to be, but it's not, hopefully it won't lead to World War III. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not going to be easy with Trump either. It's going to be lots of problems, lots of difficulties, but he's moving towards sovereignty. We have to pray for this nation, folks. We have to repent. Isaiah says very clearly, if the people repent, who have turned from their wicked ways and repent. But it's not enough to just repent. It's not enough. We have to take action too. Because God said, he said to his disciples, if you love me, you will follow my commandments, you will take action. You will take action. You will go preach the gospel to the ends of this earth. You will bring the kingdom. Father's foundation, the kingdom is coming back. Because why? There's only one owner of it on this earth. And it's not because I wanted it or not because I asked for it. It's because Father chose me to do the job. And that's why I have to do the job. And that kingdom is coming back. When that kingdom comes back, there's a micro and macro. There's gonna be fights. There's gonna be Satan's trying to hold on for that. You don't know what will happen. But who amidst all that, all the people that Father touched and raised, who amidst of them, we don't know which one. Will it be Kenya, Nigeria, whatever? Will it be Vanuatu, will it be whatever, Macau? Who knows which one will bring back the Constitution to their country and to begin it. Huge fight, folks. Micro and macro will be determined in Pennsylvania. Thought I was crazy? Everybody thought I was crazy 3 years ago when we warned Hun Mother and we told her that she would see judgment and curse upon herself. That time is now here. We just don't want it to go to the world. We don't want it to go to the whole world where innocent people have to die in this crazy thermonuclear, useless war that they're trying to start with Russia. I don't want to see it. If it's God's will, and it happens, well, I pray that the little sincerity that we're able to do can reduce it, shorten it, can minimize the damage. But whatever we can do, we have to do at this hour, folks. This ain't a joke. This is not a joke. We have to really pray for this nation, pray for this world. It's starting right here in Pennsylvania. This is the elect. This is the key. This is the remnant. This is where history is happening now. Intense times, folks. Intense times to be alive. This is just intense. Anyways, when I think about the arrogance of the Hun mother and how she literally just said to me, Anya, that means no. You will see peace and you will see spiritual fortune. And I said, Mother, no, you won't. No, you won't. You will see curse and judgment. And I'm not doing the fearmonger. You're just screwing with the wrong person. You're screwing with God. You see what I'm saying? So Father says in John 2:91, let's read together. Wait and see. The Unification Church will be the center of the religious unification at the end, correcting the standard for presidents, prime ministers, and all the proud politicians of the nation. This is my work, to accomplish this not by force, but by natural submission. Those people the Father raised up, folks, are now coming back. That's why I will be moving to the small palace, to the container and the cage. At the same time, we will be keeping alive Father's tradition there. And so I have told my kids beforehand, before you get there, don't get used. Don't start getting nicing up to a luxury life and craving for that. We have to be keeping the same culture. We have to be training the same things. You guys got to be training still the hard arts. You guys got to be still training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, MMA, mixed martial arts. Things that make you humble. Things that beat you up. Bushcraft, survival. Getting out into nature, hunting, fishing. We will train all those arts and we will be masters of those arts and we will teach the world those arts. Because Father's kingship is centered around his culture of self-reliance, loving nature, having dominion over creation, having dominion over the archangel. That means you have to have power. You have to have real power. You have to be able to handle the Second Amendment. You have to be able to handle firearms. You have to handle real power maturely. And have that as your sovereign right. Just like every king must have that right. You're not a king if you don't have the ability to defend your territory. So I've warned them, and I've also warned you, that when the heavenly fortune comes, and there is a residual heavenly fortune upon all of the elect and all of the center of this nucleus, which is you, don't get cocky. Don't get arrogant. Don't get sucked up in the money. Don't get sucked up in the wealth. Tell your kids in advance. Don't let them start flip-flopping on you once you get more blessing. And start saying, oh, Mommy, now I love you. Now I love you. And not call them out and say, you are a prostitute. If they are fakers, call them fakers. Be a dad, be a mom. Call your kids out if they're fake. Don't let them get away with lying into your face, and you know they're lying, and let them get away with it. Be honest with them. Be real. They'll love you for it. Trust me. It may hurt their feelings that day, but when they get over it, they'll actually respect you. Because you're not trying to please their feelings. You're being a father and you're being a mother. You're not scared of them. Don't let them intimidate you. This is the center, folks. SOS, let's get ready.